Welcome back to Stories from the Ashes, where we pontificate on good books and the stories that define and refine us. I'm Amber, and I am here with Amanda per usual, and we are glad to spend some time with you all.
Yes, we are. Last podcast before Thanksgiving.
It is. Last podcast before our break. I think we're going to probably use this one to wrap up the official season. We might have a couple shorties just to highlight a few books and products that we think you might like to use over the holidays. But this is our last official episode of the year. And I think our theme for this one is self-care in heavy seasons. So I think that everyone at this point knows that the last decade has been a heavy season for me. And I think it's just in the last couple years, like since 2020, that I've really put any thought into what self-care looks like beyond survival. And I put a post in our cafe group this week, a private group of a few friends that we have. And we were asking, like, what do you do for self-care when things are really, like, what's something that you do that maybe not everybody else would think of doing that isn't just like a common form of self-care that you do when you are just really underwater? And it was very interesting because I think that from the answers, it kind of showed there's like 3 different levels that people are coming from when talking about self-care. Like there's just the basic life is normal, going through day-to-day life. I eat, I sleep, I bathe, I spend time with my husband and kids if I have them. I do the things that I do and make a little time for me. And then there's like the things are slightly more hectic. I have a new baby. I have, had a long illness, or we've had one event go wrong. And so now I'm spending more time in the bathroom because it's somewhere I can shut a door between me and the rest of the world, and take 10 minutes.
Never done that.
Yeah, no, never. I can take 10 minutes when I really only needed 2. And so I think there's like that level. And then there's the level where people are just like, the world is on fire. And really, the most important thing to do is to survive another day. And so I think that was just really interesting seeing people's answers for those different levels. And I think that's something that we've talked about a lot this year, but we haven't really put a name to it, is bibliotherapy, which is something that we've been talking about by that name ourselves in recent months. But I saw this term and I found it so intriguing, and Wikipedia describes it as bibliotherapy is a creative arts therapy that involves storytelling or the reading of specific texts. It uses an individual's relationship to the content of books and poetry and other written words as therapy. And I just think that's what we've been naturally doing, right? Like that's what our community does so much of.
I mean, I think like Anne of Green Gables, I think you see her doing that.
Yes.
She doesn't have a lot of other outlets, and so she engages with books on levels that she hasn't been able to engage with people on. And it's her own form of self-therapy.
Yeah, I think you definitely see like doors open for her, like in her mind and things of that nature when she discovers the dime novel even, and just those stories. And I think we see that also in, I'm going to botch the title, so you say it, the book that I just lent to you that you finished that's set in starts in Michigan.
The Star That Always Shines?
Yes.
The Star That Always Stays.
Always stays. Yes. I can never remember if it's the star that always shines or always stays. So the Star That Always Stays, it's the same thing. So that one is, I would say, historical fiction set on true events. So the author wrote it based on her ancestors' stories. And so in that way, a lot of it's true. Like she includes photographs of her grandmother or great grandmother and characters of that nature. But it's set at the turn of the century, and you see a young girl go from a situation where higher education for females is kind of frowned upon to a home that has a home library, and she's able to go to high school, and just seeing all the, you know what, I want to talk about that book for a minute. So one of the things that really hit me about that book was, one, like Anne, her worlds are opened by seeing all of these possibilities and the way things have worked for other people. But two, and I really want to talk to the author about this because I don't think it was intentional, but I feel that this is one of the best representations of a neurodiverse character that I've ever read. Except I don't think she was neurodiverse when she was being written. But the way she reads these books and then writes a script for her life as to what path she's going to take, like XYZ decisions will lead me to being this person. And it doesn't. It does not work out for her the way that she has planned. Like, there's other things.
Are you sure that's neurodiverse?
Yes, like, it's, if you read it through the lens of masking, and like even when she has the party at her house and her stepbrother is looking at her like, you just became an entirely different person. And then she's telling him, like, I just did that because I wanted them to like me. Like, so there's an element of that everybody does, but she takes it to the extreme. She constantly is taking it to the extreme, to the level of, like, there are not many conversations in life that I would walk into and not already have scripted what I would possibly say if I ever hit a conversation such as that. Like, all of my life is scripted ahead of time because I don't do well in situations I'm not familiar with. And I feel like I saw so much of that in that character. And it felt like I was looking at myself as a teenager trying to plan out my life. But I mean, I don't know if I ever told you this, but like, when I decided that I liked Eric and thought he might possibly like me too, I prayed about it. I asked all the women that were in mentorship positions over me, and I decided whether I would marry him or not before he ever even asked me to go on a date. And then I'd put
Isn't
it
that
like,
a little premature?
no, I just knew whether I would or not. Like, I wanted to know, is this even something that's viable for me? So I researched it because I'm a researcher, and I figured it out, and I decided yes. Like, so he could have just as easily said, will you marry me, as will you court me? And I would have said the same thing. I would have said yes. And I just like to have things planned out, like all these possible things that could possibly happen. And so when things happen and that I'm not expecting, it really just rips the carpet out from under me. And you've seen what's happened to me in my life when things highly unexpected have happened, and it just sends me spinning mentally. Like, I don't have firm ground
Wrap your head around it.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around it at all because it is so not something that I was prepared to meet. And that's part of why I've read so many stories, is because it gives me all these different, like, these are possible things that could happen in life. And it's like, okay, let me think about that. Let me decide what I would do in those situations. And so when you've lived 1,000 lives through books, you are prepared for 1,000 possible scenarios to happen in your life. And then you can be fairly confident as a neurodivergent who is not fairly confident at social situations and exchanges when you have, like, seen the blueprint. So I feel that that's what she was doing in that book. And so again, I want to talk to the author because I don't think the character is neurodivergent. But
I don't think so either. I mean, I think it's pretty common to do some scripting for most people who are not, like, great with extroversion and stuff.
But I definitely felt like I was walking in this character's shoes in a way I haven't with other characters, in like, oh, she is the embodiment of my experience. So I really, really enjoyed that book. And I forget what we were talking about when we started talking about that. Oh, bibliotherapy, and like Anne of Green Gables and Norvia in The Star That Always Stays, and how it's very interesting to, like, watch other people's ways that they care for themselves and their minds and doing things. And then if you read Jane Austen, right, why can we not go back to just being sent to the sea? As women, when life gets really hard, I just want to go to the sea. And I was reading the Messner biography on Clara Barton, which is excellent. Like, if you can get your hands on that book, it's harder and harder to find. But if you can find a copy of that book, everyone, I highly recommend finding it and reading it. So the Messner on Clara Barton, she talks about how, like, after the Civil War and after her project after the Civil War of naming all the men who had died, because unfortunately there was a lot of turmoil in the North and the South where people were being accused of their loved one having died as someone who had abandoned their army and gone AWOL, when really these people had died in camps. And so she had this special project that, like, brought honor back to all these families of naming the people who were just in pits of mass graves. And the newspaper, like, helped release, like, an entire booklet, thousands of names, so thousands of families. But this was a huge undertaking and grief-filled project that she took on. And after it, she lost her voice. And so she was sent to an asylum in Europe to just, like, rest. And then it talked about how Florence Nightingale had the same exact experience because they were contemporaries, and they actually went to the same asylum, but they were just there at different times. So they never met in their lives, even though they were doing the same type of work. And then it happened again. Like, she got involved in the next war in Europe and provided a bunch of care throughout the war as a nurse, and then burnt out and went back to this asylum and rested and recharged and recovered. And I would give anything for that, Amanda.
I think I would too.
Like, so much.
Yeah, there's not enough rest. At all in our lives.
Yeah, I think especially when you're dealing with, like, mental and emotional things that just take time. They just take time and rest to work themselves out. But when you don't have the time, then it drags it out so much longer, and it can make it so much worse because now you have compounding griefs. Now you have this cobweb of emotions and experiences that you are trying to untangle. You're trying to figure out where's the chicken and where's the egg in this situation as you're going back. And so, I don't know. I wish for the Jane Austen go to the sea. But there's so much research about how beneficial it is to read when you are in situations that are really challenging. There's been studies that have been done that have shown that readers, those who regularly read, are kinder than other people. And then also shown that reading strengthens your brain. And I saw this recently. There's a study which was conducted by the University of Liverpool that discovered that reading classic stories could send, quote, rocket boosters to the brain to help those suffering from depression, anxiety, chronic pain, and dementia too.
It doesn't mean to send rocket boosters to the brain.
I'm guessing good hormones. I don't know. I will link to the article I'll link to the study in the show notes for anyone that wants to read more of that. But I can think of, like, rocket boosters and things that have felt like rocket boosters, like felt like a nice peaceful experience
rocket
from
boosters
reading.
And peaceful experiences go hand in hand in your mind.
They do. I think that rocket boosters can just, like, blow out the cobwebs sometimes, and then you get quiet, right? Like, it shoots off, makes a big mess, and then it's just you're left in the peace and calm afterwards.
I don't think I'm following this metaphor.
I was listening to one of those songs on headphones last night that what is it? They're like I'm trying to remember what they're called. They're the special music where it, like, goes on both sides at the same time and, like, alternates. And so it's basically doing a similar thing to your brain that you would experience in, like, EMDR therapy. It's not EMDR therapy. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, like, it's the same effect in your brain. And they are especially finding that neurodivergent people experience this music differently than neurotypical people. But it really just feels like it is, like, sweeping cobwebs out of your brain. It's the weirdest experience. Like, you're just sitting there listening, and there was this one, and I felt like I was hearing a story because like it starts over here and then it comes closer to you and then it comes around and then it goes further away and then it comes back and then it goes around. I had to remind myself a couple times I was wearing headphones and I wasn't just in a big room where the sound was like literally traveling around me. And I will link that song in the comments as well, just for people that want to throw some headphones on and see if they have a similar experience. But I feel that that's kind of like the rocket boosters in the brain. Like sometimes you read something and it just hits you and you're like, whoa, that's really deep. I feel like that's a rocket booster. Like you just kind of get hit by it and then there's like a calm after. I'm guessing it comes with good hormones, and that's what they mean by rocket boosters. It may not feel like a rocket booster. It just affects your brain like a rocket booster.
Okay.
Well, it's not my word choice. It was the study, okay?
Okay. So, well, I'll be interested in reading that because, see if it makes more sense.
Yes. So part of why we've been talking about this lately is, sadly, Amanda is getting ready to step back from the podcast. She's not going to step away. She's going to step back. She won't be doing the majority of our interview episodes anymore, but will be showing up to just one-on-one talk about books with me and all of you. So one on all of us. That's not one-on-one, but like the ones where she's just talking to one person in the recording.
Yes.
So she'll be showing up for those. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your season of life, Amanda?
Yeah. We're just having some family challenges and then needing to care for multiple family members a little bit more hands-on. And then my health challenges have gotten a lot worse over the last year and they're not improving. So I need to take some time and rest more and actually rest. And that's a really hard thing to do in our modern times. Just we're all used to just go going, and I've just been go going, and my body is going stop.
Yes.
I was so glad that Val introduced that wintering book to us because I read it after she praised it so highly, and then going into the season, I was like, oh, this is why I read this, and I needed to hear this and to give myself permission to rest because my body's telling me it's not gonna tolerate it if I don't.
Right.
And I need to listen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The day that you broached this topic with me, you had said that Facebook memories had reminded you that a year earlier was when you guys had your camping trip in Colorado and you'd gone on a 10-mile hike. And that afternoon you'd had to walk down to see the sheep and you barely could do it. And you were like, that's the change of the past year.
Yeah, my past year. Yeah, I felt so amazing last year. And, hiking with the family was amazing. I'm glad we did it when I could physically do it.
Yes.
Because this year my husband's had multiple surgeries and my health is kind of tanked. And we also went to Disney World with my mom while she still could because she can't travel anymore. So like we just hit all these events while we could, and I'm so grateful we did. But now we're in a season where we can't.
Yeah,
and it's a little sad to like compare and see yourself slide backwards. But hopefully we can move forward.
Yeah, hopefully it's not just a slide. Hopefully it's a pendulum, right? You've swung to that side, and Lord willing, you're gonna swing back. And
I surely hope so.
Like Clara Barton.
Yes.
You'll just
yes.
have your season recharge.
Yes, I'm going to the seaside in January. The first time my in-laws have been taking us with them to Mexico in the winter, and the first time was every time. This will be the third time. Every time it's been amazing, but the first time it was a little bit gross. I had so much detox sweat. I was really glad they changed our sheets every night because it was so gross. So gross. But
that detox is awesome.
It's true.
Though. Yeah.
It's true that sea air is really, really good for you.
Yes. Yes, it definitely is. Speaking of
very
detox,
recharging.
I told Eric I was so glad we had decided to record today instead of tomorrow, because I just got a new supplement in the mail, and I was talking with him while I took it, and my brain was thinking it was the supplement I've already been taking. And so I took almost a full dose of it instead of taking.
No.
Yeah. So my brain may not be able to do anything coherent for like a week. Hopefully not. It's a brain supplement. so
maybe it will be a rocket booster to your brain.
Right. Maybe it will, and it'll leave all the ash and destruction behind. A not good rocket booster. But when we were at that conference with Nancy Kelly, I was telling you how so as a group, we all did picture study. And so Nancy hands out a painting, and everyone spends, I think, like 3 minutes looking at it. And then we turn it over and we go into groups and discuss it, not looking at it. And this is the third year that we've gone to this conference. And every year when we do it, I look at the picture, I study the picture. And then when I'm in my small group, if I close my eyes, I can see the picture. This is just how my brain works. I can see the picture, the whole thing. I can scan around for whatever questions people have. And this year, I flipped the picture over and went to my little small group that Val was in, and I could see the size of the image in my head. And then when Val would say, "Oh, there was a donkey," like it was like a spotlight went across the black and stopped at the donkey. And then I could see the donkey portion of the scene, but I couldn't see anything else. And then she would be like, then I would say, "Oh, and I really liked the monk's robe because it was St. Francis of Assisi." And so like then my thing would scan over and shine a light on the robe, and I could see just the part of the robe I was talking about, but I could no longer see the donkey. And I think this was the most real
neurotypical you've ever felt.
No, I felt like this was the most real I could put my finger on the changes in my brain since the fire. So since the fire, and so I'm going to keep talking about this. So Nancy, one of her sessions was on habits, right? It's a Charlotte Mason conference. So she's talking about habits, and she talked about a conference, I believe, that Charlotte Mason's people had put on back then. And one of the talks had mentioned a young girl who was just overwhelmed by life, basically. And the doctor's prescription was 6 months of no school and bread and milk just to rest. And it was because her parents weren't making decisions that that they could be making for her and just leaving it up to her. And she was decision fatigued. And Nancy had these statistics on what percent was it, Amanda, of how many of our decisions, like 95% of our decisions, I think is what the study said. And then she said Charlotte Mason said it was 98. So she was pretty darn close for her observation. So 95% of decisions are made on autopilot from habit in our lives. Think about that, you guys. 95% of what you do is your habits. That just, I cannot even. And so...
Well, and you know what struck me after that is that when you have these events in your life that happen to throw everything off, you're going from suddenly having 95% of your life decided by these habits without having to think about it to like, you're thinking about everything, and it's very sudden, and it's...
It's devastating to the brain. So what I'd shared then was when we had the fire, we had to claim all of the items because we didn't have a total loss. Like if the whole house had burnt down, they would have just written us, like if the house had burnt down and turned everything to ash, they would have written us a check for for the value of all of the items that we had lost in the house. But because it didn't turn everything to ash and we lost a lot of stuff to smoke and water, they make you itemize all of the things that you have. And you have to say which room it was in. You have to say how old the item was. You have to say what the value to replace the item is, which means then I have to go online, put it into Google, look around at all the different places that item is available, find the price that makes sense, and put that price in. And then I have to remember to add shipping. So I have to look and see what the shipping was. And is this the place that has the best deal? And then I had to do that over 3,000 times. So I was doing 12-hour days of constant decision making for a month. And it burnt my brain out. And praise the Lord, this season was while we were living with Eric's parents because we couldn't find a rental house. Because otherwise our children would have been completely feral. Because I could not do anything except like Eric was working full time. I was doing 12-hour days on this. And me, mom, and papa were running a day camp for the kids. And everyone was loving it. Praise the Lord. And so when that ended, we got the rental house and we moved back to Cedar Rapids. And Eric, bless his heart, bought me Animal Crossing. And he was like, you know what? When you had Inara, our firstborn, and you had all that trauma after the birth, and then she was only sleeping 45 minutes a day, and you could barely function, you played Animal Crossing. And that was like all you could do, but it gave you something to do. And I was like, you know, I don't like playing video games. I don't like video games. I don't like how much our kids like them. I don't want this to be a thing. And he's like, trust me. So I trusted him. And I sat on the couch for 2 months and I played Animal Crossing with my kids. And we had a great time. We got to build an island. We got to build a museum, fill the museum with stuff. This is what actually sparked my boys' interest in classical art, was the fact that there's this identifying game on it where you have to say, is this piece of classical art real or fake? So you have to know what the real thing looks like to identify the fake thing. So we were studying classical art through all of this. And now they know some of the greats and a lot of the masters, and they can identify all these pieces that are in modern situations and movies and TV shows and pictures in their kids' books. So it ended up not being a complete waste of my life, which is what I thought it was going to be going into it. But it gave my brain time to rest and not have to make decisions about anything. Because my kids were like, go fish over here, go climb that tree. And it's like, great, I'll just do what you say. Like, I don't have to think about this. And so I felt like I was recovering and was back to, like, after that 2 months, I felt like I was kind of back and that things were decent. And then this summer, I had to submit all the receipts for everything that we had purchased, because not only, they don't just like, they only give you a part of the amount of the value of the items when you claim it as having lost it in the fire. They only give you the full value if you replace it. So I had to go through, remember what I had even called these things the first time through, because can I tell you how many white shirts we had? But some of them I put in because I didn't understand the system. So some of them we were too specific. It's like white vest or white camo, you know, or like cami or whatever. Like it all could have been white shirt. Like they don't care. So I had to remember what it was called, find the receipt, take a picture of the receipt, find the file. Is this the right file? Yes. Put the receipt. It was, again, like by day 2, I told Eric, I was like, I don't think I can do this. I'm going, like, my brain is breaking all over again. I can feel it breaking. And he didn't really understand what I was saying. And obviously it had to get done because paying our credit cards off was depending on it. So like, there wasn't really a choice because we bought the stuff and we needed the money to reimburse ourselves for it. So I did another 2 months of that, just a few hours every day, but it broke my brain. And now is when, like, I can't see those pictures. And I think I told you last night that I need to tell Matt, your husband, because Matt's always said that he likes to read aloud because he only reads one word at a time when he's reading aloud, which is the speed that he reads as a dyslexic anyway. That's where I'm at right now. I can only read 2 words ahead of where I am. Usually I read 2 lines at a time. Like at my peak, I was reading over 900 words a minute with 98% comprehension. This is was my superpower. And now I am a peasant.
And now you're
I am a peasant like with the commoners. No. No, but I was telling Eric, I was like, now reading is boring. And
boring? Reading can't be boring.
Unless it's exciting, like if it doesn't suck me right in, I'm going 3 words at a time. It's tedious and boring. And Inara says from across the room, well, now you know how Gemma feels with her dyslexia. And I was like, yeah, I do. And then I told Eric, and I was like, and not only is it boring, it's exhausting. It takes so much more effort. And Inara's like, and now you know how I feel with my dyslexia. And I was like, I do. So on that side, like, it's a gift, right? This thing that is a trial and a burden for me is also a gift because now I can understand where my daughters are coming from and be like, I wouldn't say I was judgmental anyway, but like now I have like an even new level of not judging them when they're slow, or like Gemma when she's slow, and not judging Inara when she's like, I'm done. Like I am not doing anything else today. Realizing like she's not being rebellious or stubborn. She really has just maxed out her level of mental exertion in trying to read this thing.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if our challenges are just so we can commiserate and not be prideful in our own things that are easy for us. Because, I mean, you know, I'm apt to be prideful about things that are easy for me, not realizing that I just have it easy.
Right?
It's not anything special about me. It's just I have that particular thing easy.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Welcome to the real world with the rest of us who can only see a little bit of the picture at a time.
It's rough down here, guys.
It is.
Like the Technicolor went away, and I feel like the world's just kind of gray. And
although I have to,
it's hard.
I have to say, I notice when we do the picture study every year, I get a little bit better. So maybe you'll get better. Little by little.
So back to that supplement that I probably poisoned myself with today. It's desiccated brain. So I got desiccated bovine brain because I was like, man, all those desiccated organs that I take for everything else have helped so much. So I probably just need to take some brain for my brain. But I did the smart thing 2 days ago where I read through all the Amazon reviews and everyone was like, don't start high, start at 1 at the most. And I was like, yeah, that's what I tell everybody with all the other desiccated organs. So that's what I'll do. And then I went to take it and I thought it was placenta and like popped a whole handful in. And then I like looked at Eric and I was like, no. I don't think I can do anything probably for the next 4 days.
I think it'll be okay. I feel like once you start taking the desiccated organs, like the next one you take, you have a little bit more tolerance.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping for more tolerance. I'm hoping maybe the sun breaks through the clouds and now all of a sudden my brain will just be like, hallelujah, and everything will be wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the suggestions that the community contributed to what they do for self-care. I'm just going to read through a few of them here. There's some pretty...
You know what I do sometimes?
What do you do?
I go to Costco by myself.
Isn't that heaven?
It is heaven. I just did that the other day. Oh, shoot. I have to run to Costco.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go by myself.
Yeah. I'm so happy for you. Do you know what else I like to do? I like to let Eric go by himself when we're together, and then I get 30 minutes in the car with the seat warmer all by myself, not having to talk to anybody. No kids, nothing. It's great.
That might be better. Yeah.
No fluorescent lights, nothing. It's wonderful. So some of the suggestions other people made were they buy themselves nice pajamas, and that is a great way to end the day, is nice pajamas. Somebody else along those lines said clean sheets for her own bed, because often she feels that taking care of her bed is the last priority in sheet changing. So that's really nice. Getting out in nature.
That's so me.
Reminding themselves how big God is and his power when their hardships feel overwhelming, and the immense joy. I was just going to say the immense joy that they feel when their children are in awe at the wonder of creation fills the cup and resets their moods.
Cora has started. I'll tell Cora we're going on a walk. And she's like, because you really need it? Yes, because I really need it. That's why.
Yeah. In our house, we call them stupid little walks for mommy's stupid mental health. Because that's what I call it. My kids don't call it my stupid mental health. I do. And there's a meme that I saw once that had an American bald eagle walking across a field. And I don't know if you've ever seen them walk, but they look like Jane Austen men in their little like pants with pockets. But they just like stalk across the ground, and they look furious, probably because they're not flying, right? So they're down here like us commoners. So that was the meme that I saw that was like a stupid, like the eagle's thinking a stupid little walk for my stupid mental health. So my kids will say, is it time for your stupid little walk? It's like, yes it is. And there was people who cancel school for the day and just sit in front of the fire and do read alouds. And then one of our members is going through a very traumatic medical kidnapping of her daughter right now and is waiting for the court date. And she said that what she has been doing every day is shaking her body out like an animal after a chase, starting at the head and then one section at a time, going down to the toes, shaking it out as close to a shiver as possible. And that is really sound advice. And in The Body Keeps the Score and different books that I've read on like PTSD and things of that nature talk about the measures with like as how do I want to say this? So not every bad event is trauma for everyone, right? It could happen. You could get hit by a bus and you walk away and you're not traumatized by it. I could get hit by a bus and it is traumatic and it takes years for me to recover mentally and emotionally, right? And so in one of these books that I read that I'll add to the show notes, because in my head, I just call it the book with the tiger on the cover because I can't remember the name of it. But that book, which I'll add the picture with the tiger on the cover so that you guys know which book I'm talking about right now. In that book, the author who studies all of this stuff out, he was hit by a car. And he was saying that X, Y, and Z happened after while waiting for the ambulance. And then when he got on the ambulance, they took his blood pressure and he asked what it was. And it was a certain range. And he's like, great, I'm not going to be traumatized by this, because he'd had all the things happen. Like he'd shivered, like he'd had the shaking, and that's your body like processing out the trauma. And for years, there were a few specific events where whenever I talked about them, I would laugh and shake the whole time. Like I couldn't, like that was just my whole nervous system just couldn't even talk about it. And I was like, I always told people for a decade, I laugh when I'm nervous, but it was trauma. It was trauma coming out in these situations that were triggering the trauma, right? Like the nervous feeling was actually a triggered feeling that I was having. And through the EMDR therapy that I've done in the last couple of years, I don't shiver over those events anymore. And I don't laugh over those events anymore. And then 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation and I started laughing and shivering. And I was like, oh, I need to take this one into therapy and have a conversation about it, because apparently, even though it doesn't feel like it should be something I'm having this reaction to, there must be some root thing. So that is one of the things that therapists will recommend is shaking and shivering. Like if you feel your body shivering, don't stop it. Like let it go, because it's very healing to all your systems.
I wonder if that's like, when they say you're like racked with sobs, shaking like while you're
I wonder if that shaking is also a good shaking. It could be. A lot of people said drinking something hot. I think this is like one of the reasons people drink coffee all day and I drink hot chocolate all day. It's really soothing to have something warm. Listening to good music. Somebody has a coffee pot with a timer, which encourages her to get out of bed in the morning because the coffee's ready when she gets there. So a lot of really
me of The Office and the bacon.
Yes, right. When Michael makes bacon on the George Foreman at the foot of the bed. Oh my goodness. But yes, so many people went out in nature and and did art. Those were the two that seemed to be.
Both of those are so healing.
Yes, they are. And then one of the commenters, she was like, girl, I've got a word for you, but let's talk. And so I'm always game to talk to our members. Like, I love our community so much. I have yet to have somebody reach out and be like, could I talk to you? That I'm like, no. I'm like, yes, let's talk. So we had a phone conversation last night that I swear was divinely assigned and that's part of why I always say yes when people want to talk to me, is because it is so mutually beneficial. Like, I'm able to, typically it's people that want help with something. And so I'm able to help with whatever they need, but I never feel like I walk away without having received something emotionally in the exchange as well, even if it's just like an encouraging word. But I talked with Laura last night, and we talked for an hour. I sobbed through almost the whole conversation because she just talked about all these hard situations. I knew all of her hard situations that have been going on with her family's health. Her kids got POTS and tick-borne illnesses and seizures and pandas, just like the whole gambit.
The gamut, yeah, everything.
Yeah, all at once. And it's been a couple years, and mold sickness from their house on top of it, and having to just walk away from everything like my aunt and uncle did, and they moved states away. And so just, she was talking about how she felt, and this is similar to you, she felt God had prepared her heart for this, right? So just like that wintering book prepared your heart for it, she had read Sacred Romance by John Eldredge, and she felt that prepared her heart for the great adventure that God had planned for her. Even though sometimes she's like, oh, God, this does not feel like the great adventure that I was wanting.
Like, no.
Like, yes, you have great things planned for me, but this doesn't feel like it. But it, like, when she said that, it reminded me of sitting in the basement with the kids during the derecho, thinking that a tree had just fallen through our house, because that's what it sounded like. It had just fallen through our front porch. And turning to the kids and saying, you know what? Today is the first day of a great adventure. And it's all about how you frame it in so many things. You know?
Everything in life is.
But she just had so many encouraging words for me. And she was talking about that third level of self-care that we were talking about, where she was like, just let people know. And so I want you guys to listen. If you are just getting through your day, please do. Like, get through your day to tomorrow, because it can feel so hard and it can feel so heavy and so like you just want to sleep and so like you just want a rest. And stopping your life may feel like the only way to get that, but that's not true. That is a lie. And you are worth waking up tomorrow. Not for your husband, not for your kids, not for your duty, which is great. And if knowing you have duty is what keeps you waking up tomorrow, then embrace that. But you are worth it. You are worth feeding yourself. You are worth bathing yourself. You are worth all the things you have to do to not just slowly die. And I read something a couple days ago about a woman who was struggling with an eating disorder. And she said that she realized it was just her body passively not wanting to live anymore and thinking that this was a good way to handle the situation. And then something else that Laura shared is, she said one day she was trying to have a conversation with another adult, and her kids were just being kids in the other room and all around her, and they weren't settling and they weren't giving her the space to have her thoughts. And she just finally just blurted out the Charlotte Mason concept. And she's like, listen, I am a born person too. And that's so true. And she said that she felt that was like a turning point for her, realizing that she is a born person too. She has needs that are worth being met. And she had some very specific words to me and some struggles that I have been having that I just really appreciated her sharing. And I just, I want you guys to know that there's no shame in taking things off of your plate. And they may feel like dumb things, and you may feel like, what am I even contributing if I cannot do this basic thing in life? It is worth taking those things off your plate and finding rest in that area for yourself so that you can continue waking up every day. I have taken something that I feel a lot of people would think is dumb off of my plate, and it has changed my year. And Amanda knows about this because I rave about it all the time. I don't wash my own hair anymore. I stopped because I have ADHD and autism and all this trauma and all this brain issues, and my executive function is broken, you guys. Like, if it's a big picture thing that you need done, I'm your girl. If you need brains for like vision casting or dreaming or giving great ideas for stuff, I can do that all day long. If you need somebody who can figure out how to cook a meal, I can't do that anymore. If you need somebody who can figure out what they even want to eat, also cannot do that. If it is not something that is one of my habits, it's not happening. And unfortunately, feeding myself has never been one of my habits. So that's something that's a real struggle for me. But I found I was avoiding showering because I have waist length hair and I am taller than our shower head and I have inflammation. And so I did not like having to contort to fit under the shower head for as long as I had to wash my hair. And so I was doing everything to avoid showers because really I was avoiding washing my hair. And then I was getting a haircut and a hair trim. I was getting a hair trim and I turned to my hairdresser and I was just like, you know what? How much would you charge me to wash my hair once a week? And she was like, $5. I was like, sold. So now and I think she was willing to do it at that price, one, because she knew me, and two, because we bring her 7 customers on a regular basis, you know? But now it's something that she just fits into her day. Like, I'll text her and I'll say, today's the day. And she's like, all right, I have 30 minutes at this point. Come on in. And so it's mutually beneficial in that way. But I go to the hair salon once a week and I get my hair washed. And it is the most relaxing, recharging, single thing that I do for myself during the week.
Well, it's always amazing to have your hair washed by someone else.
Yes.
Scalp massage.
Yes. But then, because I don't have to ever think about my hair, I can shower as many times as I want. Like, I could shower every day at this point. I am not an everyday shower. It's not good for the biome of your skin. But like, if I wanted to, I no longer have that mental block saying this is going to be a 40-minute event. Now it's a 5 to 10 minute. Like, it's as long as I want it to be, instead of like, at minimum, this is how long I have to carve out of my day for this thing. So I have no shame. And now I understand why all those old ladies at the hair salon I used to work at would come in and get their hair washed and set once a week. And then they wouldn't do their hair again. And then they'd come back and get it washed and set. Like, it is freeing mentally as a woman to not have to worry about your hair. So now I get it washed. I wear it down for 3 days. I wear it up for 3 days and I'm back in the salon. And so it's been a game changer for me. So don't feel embarrassed if it's something simple. Like, it seems like it should be something simple that you should be able to do. And you're just like, you know what? I think my life would be better if I didn't have to. That's totally fine. Make your life better. Don't have to if you don't have to. So, yeah, I just feel like that one thing has given me so many spoons back. If you know spoon
theory. Because you're not trying to work yourself up to it.
I no longer have to be brave. Like, it felt like it was taking mental bravery to step over the hurdle of literally stepping over the side of the bathtub into the shower. Like, once I was there, I was fine, but it was just this mental block. And now it's not there anymore. And it's great.
I think you need one of the shower heads that's installed in the ceiling.
Yeah, I definitely think that when we
that would
remodel
probably
this
cost
bathroom.
more than paying for someone to wash your hair.
And she rubs my head, and like it takes no energy on my part. And I don't have the it removed so many decision making things. So
yeah.
But we are going to be doing some book clubs on Facebook, a book club on Facebook this coming year. So probably starting in January on habit training. And so we're going to do Atomic Habits. We're going to do The Other Half of the Church and a third book. Can you remember what the third book is, Amanda? It's escaping my memory. But really,
that's way too much to ask of my brain.
It's going to be a bring your own book group.
Okay.
Oh, the third book is Drive by Daniel Pink. So Atomic Habits by James Clear, Drive by Daniel Pink, The Other Half of the Church by Jim Wilder and Michael Hendricks, which is Christian Community, Brain Science, and Overcoming Spiritual Stagnation. And that one, they have a podcast called The Other Half of the Church where they read a chapter aloud and then talk about it even more. So if you want to listen along for free, you can listen to that on the podcast. But it's going to be and obviously we'll probably also do Charlotte Mason's book Habits. So we will just have a group on Facebook where people can just come and share where they're at in those books, what things have been challenging to them, what things have challenged them, and just bounce some things off of each other and have some encouragement as we are working on building a stable 95% of habit in our lives and in the lives of the little people that affect so much of our lives.
Oh, yes, I came home from that conference and was like, we're going to work on some habits. And my 6-year-old was super excited about it and started telling us all the habits we need to work on. Everyone else.
Oh, yes. It's so much easier to work on somebody else's habit.
Yep.
Did the habits she wanted you to work on affect her at all? Like, I want you to make me more cakes, like that type of thing?
No. It was, I can't even remember. I wasn't listening. I was like, I don't think you understand the way this is going to go. There were like ridiculous things. Like, you need to work on the habit of not leaving your coffee cup on the coffee table. Maybe, but let's work on some more important things first.
Oh, man. That's funny. Kids are great. So,
oh, yes.
All right. Well, we just really want to thank you all for being with us this year. I think that as much as wintering helped Amanda in preparing for a season of wintering, just all these conversations that we've had with all these authors and illustrators and publishers, I feel like they all met me in a different way. And I really hope that they met all of you as well and touched you. And I was thinking earlier again about the conversation that we had with Mary about hope punk and just the fact that it's community pushing back against the darkness together. And I feel that our community does that. I feel like we're a band of wanderers through life that love our libraries and love a good story and sharing encouraging words with one another from those. And I wanted to let you know that we did get our Hope Punk sweatshirts made. So they look like this. Hope Punk. The stories are truer than true. And they're available on Redbubble if you were interested in getting one of those. But my girls have been wearing them. And every time I see them in one, it just makes me smile because that's what I want for them. I want them to grow up to be community builders who fight for hope and shining the light of hope as a beacon in dark, trying times. So Amanda and I's prayer for all of you is that you have a restful holiday season and that you are able to take care of yourselves, even if it's just one day at a time, one moment at a time. We love having you as part of our community, and we want you to stay in it. And if it's just life is a little uncomfortable right now and I just need to be able to take a few breaths, then we hope that you are able to find some ways to do that as well. And we'd love for you to add in the comments what you do for self-care in your life in any of those 3 different levels of seasons that we were talking about. Did you have any final thoughts, Amanda?
No, just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, read a good book. So we look forward to seeing all of you next year with a reduced schedule, but a consistent one nonetheless. So we will, I don't think I told you this. So we'll be planning on doing 2 episodes a month, well, every other week. So we'll be doing every other week episodes next year. And Amanda will be here in probably less than half of those. So we'll be having more guest co-hosts that will be familiar faces from this year. And we are really looking forward to that. So we have some fun conversations on the books for next year scheduled. And we look forward to seeing you again then. Have a merry holiday season. And remember that stories are truer than true.